Alrighty. So today we're doing part three of the herbs that we've been learning about. But what I'm going to do, because I've given you guys all the slides with all of the different conditions and the herbs and stuff like that, I actually want to take it through a few case studies because I think that applied learning is better than just rote learning. Like you actually get to apply your knowledge, and it's a lot more interesting for you guys. I know with the herbs, sometimes it's a little rote learning to start with. But in saying that, this is just like an introductory to herbs because in the upgraded level one, which is going to start 7th of October, the curriculum that you guys will all get access to, we take deep dives into each of the herbs as well. So I do have to sort of stick to our time today because I do have a podcast recording straight after this call. But I did also want you guys to meet the beautiful Jasmine. So we have Jasmine, you can see her waving there. She has the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy name tag on the what do you call that? Name tag.
Label.
Yeah, a label.
Yeah.
So that will be our yeah, that will be a new Zoom link that will be shared when we start the new program. Um, so Jasmine is in here and she will be teaching next week's class on seasonal rituals. I'm going to be in Europe, so guys, and this will be, I'll share a new link because we won't be using this link for next week's class. And then you've got the beautiful Mel, who's also with us today, who will be teaching the following Tuesday. Okay, so let's dive in. And I know that a couple of you have to leave a bit earlier. So we're going to dive in. What I want to do is I want to give you guys a case study and we're going to think of it in terms of herbs today. All right. So, we're actually going to start with a case study on diarrhea and digestive imbalances. All right. So, we have a 42-year-old lady named Sarah. She's a school teacher and she's married with two children, age 7 and 10. Okay, she does live a high stress lifestyle being a school teacher with these kids, and she presents with chronic loose stools and frequent diarrhea, which occurs 3 to 5 times a day for the last 4 months. She's also reporting bloating, mild abdominal cramping post meals, and fatigue. Her symptoms worsen after eating out or during periods of stress. So she has been diagnosed with IBS D, which is IBS diarrhea. If they're diagnosed with IBS C, that's IBS constipation. 2 years ago, she has a history of antibiotic overuse in childhood because of recurrent UTIs. No known allergies, no major medications apart from the occasional antispasmodic for her cramping. The supplement she's on is a probiotic, a magnesium powder for sleep, and that's it. So, with her emotional and mental health, she does have a high stress and describes herself as always on the edge. She has difficulty slowing down and letting go. Her sleep is disturbed and light, and she feels easily overwhelmed and depleted. Reproductive and hormonal health, regular cycle, mild PMS, mild cramping, no clots, history of two natural births. Her daily diet consists of coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. She often skips breakfast or grabs toast on the go. At work, she'll have a salad or sandwich for lunch, and then she'll come home for a home cooked dinner. In the evening, she snacks on fruits, crackers, or nuts, drinks cold water regularly, and uh, yeah, her tongue is thin, dry tongue with a slight crack down the center, white coating towards the back, and scalloped edges. Her pulse is irregular and it does have a fast vata pulse with some pitta overtones as well. Her agni is irregular and tikshna, so sharp. She quickly digests but doesn't assimilate well. She's got some mild signs, so bloating, white tongue coating, and frequent stools. So, first of all, yell out what is the likely diagnosis? Because we're not doing a full case study, we want to talk about the herbs. So, let's just say what is the likely diagnosis of this lady coming in? You got your mic off, Sylvia.
Yeah, well, it's increased inflammation, you know, causes could be number of causes, but it's inflammatory causes in her gut,
Yeah,
and, obviously stress induced and diet induced.
yeah.
That's in terms of what did you want me to comment on?
So what's a likely Ayurvedic diagnosis? So what
So we're looking at
constitution?
fire element, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at Vata, so you've got this irregularity there,
Yep.
and disruption in cycle, like 24-hour cycles. And she starts a day with a coffee, so it's like a big
Yeah.
disruptor there.
Exactly. Yeah. So likely Vata Pitta aggravation
Mm.
with irregular digestive fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all correct. So if we know what we would do with the lifestyle, we're all over that, the foods. But let's look at it from a herbal perspective now. What are some herbs that would benefit this client and why? You guys can yell them out, pop them in the chat.
Chamomile and lavender would help with her sleep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So what are we?
So chamomile tea.
Yeah, awesome. So we're looking at calming her nervous system, but when it comes to her digestive system, what are the symptoms that we're looking at supporting and the underlying imbalance as well?
So we're coming inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So anything cooling, even like the kitchen herbs, peppermint, coriander,
Mm-hmm.
um, cumin maybe somewhat as well to
Yeah.
stabilize the bowel motions and the
Mm-hmm.
bloating.
Mm-hmm. And we want to also, what sort of one thing that would be troubling her a lot, especially if she's like a school teacher and she's got to keep running to the bathroom.
Uh, hmm, I don't know, Guducci.
Yeah, yeah, yes, but I mean, like, what is troubling her? It's the diarrhea and the loose stools.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what are you looking for there?
yeah. So what would we use to treat the diarrhea and loose stools?
From like a herbal perspective or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can throw some lifestyles in here as well.
um
Peppermint tea might be able to help with digestion, and ginger
Mm-hmm.
would be would be soothing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Um, so when we are looking at using like herbal support, we've got to think about the symptoms that they currently have because we do want to treat the root cause, but first we have to help eliminate some of the symptoms that are going to making their life really
mm,
hard. And if you could imagine she's a school teacher and she's like having to run to the toilet every 5 minutes to go to the bathroom, that would be really awful for her. So we do want to support the chronic diarrhea and the loose stools and then work out, well, what is causing that and treat the underlying the root that is creating the imbalance through the doshas. So I'm just going to share my screen and go over some herbs for diarrhea and loose stools because we often, I know in case studies, and when we talk about like gut health and like bowel movements, we talk a lot about vata and bloating and constipation. But what about those that come in with diarrhea? So it can be caused by vata or pitta. We often think it's just
Thank
pitta,
you.
but we have the irregularity, especially in her case of vata and pitta, which can be the excess heat and inflammation, as you mentioned, Sylvia. So, symptoms with the diarrhea and loose stools, it would be watery stools. So, we know that's sort of the diarrhea. We can have abdominal cramping or not. If it is chronic, it might not come with the abdominal cramping. There can be a lot of dehydration in this person as well because obviously they're losing a lot of fluid and salts through the bowel motions. So some herbs that can be really supportive is bael, and this is actually a strengthening herb. So this is also used for other things, but it's a herb that can help strengthen. So it strengthens the digestion, reduces frequency of loose stools. It is an anti-inflammatory and it's an astringent. So as you're saying, Sylvia, like we want to drive the inflammation down. So this would be a good one for that. And then we have amla, which cools the digestive system and restores the gut health. So again, if we're looking at that excess heat and inflammation, this is going to be cooling for the gut health. These have been written in powder form, so it'd be 1 teaspoon of powder. But you can get these depending on how your clients will take their supplements, because I know in the West, a lot of people, especially if they've got upset tummies, are reluctant to take the powder in water because of its taste and its texture if they're already not feeling great in their stomach. But traditionally in Ayurveda, we use a lot of powders. Nutmeg is very good antispasmodic. So it can help reduce the diarrhea and helps with that nervous tension and the contractions and the spasmodic pains, which is sort of like that vata dosha. So when there's excess vata dosha, it can be really supportive in that as well. And then we've got licorice, which soothes and protects the intestinal lining. So there's other herbs that can also do this, like if we're using aloe vera specifically to soothe the intestinal lining, then that is a good one. But can you guys remember what part of the aloe vera plant you'd use? Because one part of the plant helps constipation, and we certainly don't want to be adding that to this person. So can you guys remember, if you're going to give aloe vera just to soothe the intestinal tract, what part of the plant you would give? Outer or inner leaf?
I'll guess an outer, because I think inner is for soothing in lining, or no?
Yeah, so the inner leaf is soothing for the GI tract, perfect, but the outer leaf is used for constipation. Yeah, perfect. So aloe vera gel is usually the inner leaves. So if you had an aloe vera plant and you strip the outer leaf, and then you've got like that long gooey thing and you can put it in water, you can make aloe vera gel and juice, and that's really good for soothing the GI tract, especially if they've got reflux or anything like that, or if they've had any damage healing to the gut. But if it's blended, the outer leaf, and it's in like more of a water consistency because it's been blended properly, that's what you give your constipated clients, because that's got the laxative effect to it. So we definitely want to be very mindful when we're using herbs like that. The other thing that I've been taught in my training is carob. Like carob powder is good for diarrhea. So it's another one that you can use. And never done this and wouldn't probably prescribe it either. But, you know, KP, Jasmine KP told me that a raw onion for traveler's diarrhea. Eat a raw onion, a whole raw onion. I'm like, yeah, I don't know many people that would do that, but apparently that's really supportive and helpful. But yes, does anyone have anything else they would add to this case? I mean, lifestyle recommendations we can see down there would avoid the heating spicy foods, sip warm water infused with fennel and cumin throughout the day to help with the cramping and the bloating as well. Obviously, we'd be telling her not to drink as much cold water. Anything?
Yeah, I've noticed you've got amalaki there. So what about triphala? Like that has amalaki in it.
Yeah, so the Triphala is tridoshic because each of the 3 herbs are very supportive for the 3 different doshas. But Amala is the one that's sort of more cooling and more specific for this sort of case. Whereas the Triphala, yes, it could be very helpful, but in this specific case, you might use the amla, just the amla instead.
Okay.
Love that. All right, who's ready for the next case? Okay, we're going to move on. So we now have a male, 38-year-old male. He's an architect. He does really long hours. He is married but doesn't have any children, and he is reporting daily heartburn, especially in the evenings after heavy meals. He experiences a burning sensation in the chest, an acidic taste in the mouth, a lot of belching and regurgitation of food and acid. And he's been dealing for 18 months already. He was diagnosed with gastroesophageal reflux disease a year ago, and he was prescribed a protein pump inhibitor, so a PPI, for 6 months, but stopped due to the side effects of bloating and fatigue. He has a family history of ulcers and reflux. He reports mild constipation and gas. For his current medications, he is only taking vitamin D supplement and high protein gym powder post-workout. Mental and emotional health, he's got high stress from work. He tends to suppress his emotions. He often works late into the night. He has poor sleep quality, often wakes with tension in the jaw and clenching. He has Tichenor Agni, so sharp, overactive digestive fire, acid buildup, burning sensation, and signs of tissue irritation. There's minimal armor at present, so tongue is mostly clean with a slight coating. For his diet, he has coffee in the morning, sometimes on an empty stomach. He skips breakfast or has toast with cheese. He often eats spicy takeout, meat-heavy meals for lunch, eats dinner late after 9 p.m., usually a heavy meal followed by TV or work, drinks cold water throughout the day, and occasional beer or wine on weekends. So, let me know what is the likely Ayurvedic diagnosis. I know we've got minimal information, but enough to make a likely Ayurvedic diagnosis. Anyone?
Well, he'd be predominantly pitta, so predominantly fire. Again, inflammation, yeah.
And where would that fire most likely be? Like, where is that?
It's the stomach, I'd say.
Yeah,
because
perfect.
the esophageal sphincter, there's a number of reasons why people suffer from it.
Yeah, perfect. Love it.
But yeah, it would be a stomach area, so your solar plexus.
Yeah, absolutely. So excess pitta in the stomach with upward movement of acidic heat. Yeah, perfect. Does anyone want to go a little bit further, putting you on the spot now, and talk about the maybe the subdoshas that might be involved? The pitta subdoshas? So maybe Ranjaka and Pachaka Pitta. But I've just noticed that Jasmine's put a magical diarrhea treatment. Takra with nutmeg, half a cup of natural yogurt and half a cup of water, a teaspoon of nutmeg. Ooh, nice. Very nice. You're on silent, babe. You don't undo the mic.
That's for the previous issue. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I got that. But I've only just jumped onto the chat.
Yeah, no worries. I just thought I'd put it in there because it's a good one for the diarrhea.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. What would our goals be? So with this current client, what would our goals be, and what would he celebrate as success? So if he came into you and these were all his issues and you said, okay, which is what I always ask my clients, so we've got this long working together, what would you celebrate as success? What are your goals? What do you think he'd say?
So number one would be calming the stomach, because that would interrupt his sleep and it would majorly disrupt.
Yeah. So sleep through the night without reflux. Perfect. That would definitely be one of his goals. Maybe to eat without experiencing the burning pain after. Yeah. So with this in mind, what herbs would be a possibility for this guy? And the other thing is we've got to remember, like, there are plenty of different herbs. There's lots of different choices we can all come up with. That's the beauty of herbology. Like, it really is an art and a science, and it has to suit the individual sitting in front of us. And we've only got limited information. So we're sort of doing likely diagnosis and likely herbal prescription. So you're not going to go too far wrong. So please share what herbs would likely benefit this client with reflux. Has anyone used any themselves for this sort of condition before?
Lemon balm is quite good for digestion and improves your digestion.
Okay, yep.
So
How
that
do you
could be
use the
one.
lemon balm?
You make it into a tea.
Yep, okay, nice. Yep, beautiful. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to change the slide now. So this is someone typically with acid reflux. So it's excess heat in the stomach, as we spoke about. So there's a burning sensation in the chest. They might get a sour taste in the mouth. They might experience a lot of burping, bloating. So we just spoke about the aloe vera because it cools the digestive tract and reduces the inflammation. So again, we want the inner leaf. Or you can see here it says 1 to 2 tablespoons of fresh aloe vera gel, which is the inner gel. Or you can have it soaked in water, the inner leaf, and so it turns into a juice, but it doesn't mean the juice with the outer leaf. Licorice is another herb that's really good to soothe the esophagus lining and reduces acidity. You can actually even get these licorice tablet chews, like they're just pure licorice, the herb, and they're really supportive if someone's having a reflux sort of attack. Now, one that you might not think of commonly, but shatavari, because we often think of shatavari as a women's herb, but shatavari actually helps with any itis, meaning any inflammation. So anything that ends in itis means inflammation. So gastritis, anything like that. It is very good at helping support inflammation and pitta. It neutralizes the acidity and soothes the gut. And then we have fennel because it's, again, a cooling herb to cool the pitta and aids digestion. Actually, it's not like, I would call it more neutral, but it is, in this case, can be cooling for pitta. And you can chew the fennel seeds after a meal, or you can make fennel tea with it. Okay. You also want to ask the client to avoid spicy, sour, and fried food. So anything that's going to aggravate pitta. And maybe eat smaller meals and avoid laying down after eating, because if there's a lot going on in the stomach and they're not digesting properly, then it's just sitting in the stomach. They don't, if they're not having actually the right enzymes to break down the food, it'll start to ferment and it starts to come up. That's how the acid reflux works. A lot of the time people think that acid reflux is because you've got low acid and that's why they're then put on protein pump inhibitors to stop the acid. But actually what's happening is their Agni is low. Their Agni is not actually working properly and they're not creating the digestive enzymes to break down the food in the stomach. So then it sits there and it ferments and the acid moves upwards, but there's actually not a lot of it. It's the fermentation of the food that's sitting there that hasn't been broken down because of poor acid. So a lot of those time that they get put on the protein pump inhibitors, it can actually, like, yeah, it'll soothe it, but as soon as you take them off, their condition is no better because they haven't regulated their Agni. All right.
So would it be worth just, encouraging him to have a lighter meal at night and not try and eat so late? Have a bigger meal for
Absolutely.
breakfast and smaller for lunch, and maybe even just a light salad or something for tea or dinner.
Absolutely, because as we know, he was eating late right before bed, and so he's not giving his system enough time to digest the food. And really, to empty out of the stomach isn't the long process. The longer process is through the intestines. But if you don't
Yeah.
have the digestive enzymes in the stomach to support the breakdown of the food, then it does sit in there the longer. And that is when we do get that fermentation process. And that can lead to things like SIBO, acid reflux, H. pylori, all different stomach to small intestine issues that become bigger over time. So it is important to get onto someone who is just starting to experience like GERD. And so, yes, you definitely want them to have smaller meals, especially before bed.
Nervous system aspect has to definitely be addressed as well, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's a muscle, so it's contracting with
Yeah.
nervous system. So if your nervous system is out of whack, it will constantly be tensed up, which means
Yeah.
you can actually stay open and never close properly, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Another thing
And
to note is diaphragm. Diaphragm impacts esophagus hugely.
absolutely.
So anyone who's got asthma problems are likely to have
Yeah.
esophagus issues.
So then what's a somatic practice that you could prescribe this client? Because that's a really good point to relax the diaphragm. What's a somatic practice that you could prescribe this client?
Well, it's definitely breath work, and
Mm-hmm.
anything that relaxes the person. What do they find relaxing? It could be breath, but could just be grounding and lying
Mm-hmm.
on the grass. And
Yeah.
breathing that way. So anything
Especially before meals.
that's right.
Yeah. Because sometimes, like you said, the diaphragm can be all stuck up here and cramped up. And yeah,
Mm.
if it's not relaxed, we're not
Yeah,
emptying, allowing
we're
for that
not really
emptying.
thinking of we're so focused on systems. We're not thinking of an entire body, how it's driven by our nervous system.
Yeah, exactly. And high stress is a
Mm.
strong correlation to lowering the acid in the stomach.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like I said, like Ayurveda is always such a holistic approach. So we wouldn't just be going, okay, take these herbs and off you go. This is just for the purpose of this training, but we would definitely be looking at somatic practices, lifestyle, diet, all of the things. And then here are some herbs to support you, because the other things are often a lot more important, and they're things that they can do and have to do day in, day out to really support their constitution or their imbalance. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to some women's health cases. So the next one is menopausal symptoms, because that's very common in practice. All right, so we have Sarah. She's a 52-year-old female. She's divorced but has 2 adult children, and she has gone into menopause. So she's had no period for 18 months. She's been reporting hot flushes, night sweats, irritability, poor memory, and broken sleep. She also struggles with vaginal dryness, low libido, and occasional palpitations. Her symptoms begun around the age of 50 and have become more intense in the last 6 months. She has a healthy BMI, but reports recent weight gain around the abdominal area. She's been diagnosed with osteopenia in a recent bone density scan. She's got no major medical conditions. She takes calcium and vitamin D supplements, as well as some magnesium. She's also self-prescribed herself some evening primrose oil, and she has herbal teas for relaxation senses, such as chamomile and Pam's favorite lemon balm. So she describes herself as feeling unsettled and not herself lately. She's got anxiety around the aging process, about her independence and how her body's changing. She is having a lot of difficulty concentrating at work, and experiencing a lot of forgetfulness. She feels emotionally dry and disconnected from creativity. She does get tearful, especially before bed. She has mild Tikshna Agni. She has some signs of AMA, such as sluggish bowels, goes every second day, bloating, heaviness in the body, and she does have a lot of heat symptoms. Her diet consists of caffeine. She skips breakfast. She prefers dry crackers or toast in the morning. She eats most of her calories at dinner after 8 p.m., often pasta or wine with cheese. She has a sweet tooth and craves sugar in the evenings and has a low water intake. So, what would you say is her likely Ayurvedic diagnosis? So she's going through that menopausal transition. Or even though she's postmenopause, but she's going through that transition of being very much in like that pitta phase of life, which she's still in, and she's experiencing pitta symptoms. So she's got a bit of trapped pitta, but she's moving into a vata stage of life, that postmenopausal stage. So she's going through that pitta vata transition. It looks like she's also got a depletion of ojas, her vitality. Yeah, would you say? And she does have an increase in vata because we know that she's experiencing more dryness, anxiety, sleep disturbance. So, what would you say would be the main goals for this client? What would she, if she came to you, what would you imagine she would say? Okay, this is what I want to experience after working with you, or what I no longer want to experience. I would say hot flushes is usually a big thing, so no hot flushes and night sweats. Maybe sleeping through the night without waking. Being more maybe emotional stable. Can you guys think of anything else that you would think she might want to achieve?
Just general anxiety around her symptoms. You know,
Yeah.
if you're going through transition, you'll be wondering what's next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what would you guys be thinking in terms of herbal support for this lady?
Shatavari.
The I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but the Shavati.
Shatavari. Yeah,
Thank you.
Shatavari. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll get my tongue around them eventually.
I know that I can't even get my tongue around a lot of them, so don't worry. Years of practice and I'm still like, la la. Anything else you can think of for this lady?
Mm.
No. All right. Well, let's have a look. So she's got primarily like pitta, hot flushes, irritability, inflammation, and then the vata for the dryness, anxiety, and insomnia. With menopause, you can also have kapha excess. So some people will experience excess fluid retention, weight gain, and a sluggish metabolism. So herbs that can be really supportive in menopause, as both of you girls said, Shatavari, because it acts as a cooling, nourishing tonic for the reproductive system. It can help alleviate dryness and hormonal fluctuation. So it is a very good one for menopausal symptoms. Another one that's more of a Chinese herbal medicine, but is also amazing and can work well in conjunction with, is Dong Quai. It helps to improve blood flow. It can reduce hot flushes and alleviate mood swings. So it does pacify the vata and the pitta doshas. Geez, licorice is getting a good
Getting good run.
it's getting a good plug, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does act as a natural estrogen modulator and soothes dryness. So, you know, like as we were using it before to soothe the GI tract, it also soothes dryness. So it is a very good herb to blend with other herbs. The other thing that licorice does when you blend it with some other herbs is, can you guys remember from the last lectures. It can increase the potency of the herbs or increase their action. And then we have ashwagandha because, as you mentioned, Sylvia, like she's really anxious and stressed about her symptoms. And so her cortisol levels are going to be all over the place. So we can use ashwagandha to help support cortisol levels because it's an adaptogenic herb, alleviate anxiety and improve her sleep as well. I just wanted to see, oh yeah. And then we also have sage. So sage is a really good one to help reduce night sweats and hot flushes. So it's very supportive of the Pitta dosha, and you can have it as a tea. So if you do have a menopausal lady, you can suggest that she can have some sage tea. And so lifestyle recommendations for menopause favor cooling foods, and we want to really sort of support and pacify the Pitta dosha for those symptoms, but also know that there's also Vata dosha imbalance as well with the dryness and stuff. Incorporating some gentle exercise to maintain bone health and flexibility and support the lymphatic system, especially if they are starting to show signs of kapha imbalance as well. So there are some different sort of yoga poses that you can do to help support that. Okay, so let's get on to, let's got time for another case study. Do you find the case studies helpful, like having to think about it more than just sort of rote learning? Yeah. I always learn better with case studies because you've got to actually think and try to apply the knowledge. Yeah, it's easy to tune out.
I think both,
Yeah, both.
combination of both.
Yeah, I mean,
Both
you've got to know the things first, right? Before you can apply them in a
Yeah.
case study. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's do a full case study. So let's go a little bit more in depth with this one. So we're going to look at the herbs, we're going to look at the lifestyle, we're going to look at the diet, and everything. And I want you guys to be super interactive, and you guys are going to work this like it is your client. So I might just stop share for a moment. Okay. So this lady has come into your clinic. Her name is Emily. She's a 28-year-old female. She's a graphic designer. She's come into you with dysmenorrhea, which means painful periods. She does have a regular 28 to 30-day cycle, but she gets severe cramping and clotting with her period. She experiences intense pelvic pain and cramping starting one day before her period and continues through the first 2 to 3 days of bleeding. She also experiences back pain, bloating, and occasional nausea. She uses a hot water bottle and takes ibuprofen regularly during this time. She was diagnosed with primary dysmenorrhea at age 16. There's no endometriosis confirmed. Her ultrasound and laparoscopy was all normal. She does have a history of constipation around her period time. She's had no pregnancies. She gets mild acne around her chin before her period and no known food allergies. She's currently taking magnesium, but she's not too compliant with it. So she kind of just takes it sporadically. She takes an iron supplement because that was prescribed to her for past iron deficiency. She regularly uses Nurofen during her menstruation, and she has the occasional use of raspberry leaf tea. For her mental and emotional health, she has moderate anxiety, especially around work deadlines. She feels emotional and tearful before her period. She reports feeling just wiped out for the first few days of her cycle, so just like a lot of fatigue. She's frustrated by the regular disruption of her routine caused by her dysmenorrhea. And she feels really disconnected from her body during her period, like her body is letting her down. When it comes to her Agni, she has mild Manda Agni, which is sluggish digestion. She feels bloated and heavy in the lower abdomen and during menstruation. She gets constipation just before her period and occasional sweet cravings, as well as cold hands and feet before her bleed. Her diet and lifestyle consist of skipping breakfast. First meal is usually a smoothie at about 11 a.m. She has 1 to 2 coffees a day. Her lunch is usually a salad. Her dinner is usually pasta, stir fries, or takeaway 2 to 3 nights a week. She often eats late after work, between 8 and 9 p.m. She doesn't drink much water. She has minimal physical movement due to her desk job, and she tends to feel colder, especially in winter. Her tongue is pale with a thin white coating, slight scalloping on the edges, and a cold, moist appearance. Okay, talk me through what you're thinking about this client, starting with the likely diagnosis, Ayurvedic diagnosis, of course, and then some goals. But let's start with the Ayurvedic diagnosis. Where would you go with this, lady?
What's her primary concern?
Painful periods,
Hmm.
dysmenorrhea.
Yeah, well, there's obviously stagnation going on down in solar plexus.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no movement or a difficult movement. So there's stored emotions, stored whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that would be maybe the symptom of what is that? Upana? Apana? No, that's not
Yes.
Apana.
Yes.
Apana, hey.
100%. Yes, that is it.
Yeah,
You've come
yeah.
up with the right. So Vata blocking the flow of Apana Vayu.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So Vata
Mhm.
is blocking the flow, like Apana Vayu is the flow of downward movement.
Yeah.
And although she's bleeding, like she is bleeding, she's
Yeah.
also having those cramps, which is like stagnation and very Vata in nature. And there's a lot of clots going on as well.
Mhm.
So yes, definitely with the Apana Vayu.
Mhm.
What about how would you describe her Agni? Has she got like a good Agni or not such a good Agni?
I didn't write it down.
Okay,
Anyone?
that's right. I will let you know. So she has sluggish digestion. She feels bloated and heavy in the lower abdomen before and during menstruation, and constipation around her period.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's a low Agni.
Yeah.
But it could be a number of reasons. It could be just
Mhm.
the diet and not
Mhm.
necessarily other things. She might be so it's a low Agni. So there's,
Yep.
what pale tongue can also mean blood impurity. Rakta is not really pure. So there's
Mhm.
lymphatic issues as well.
Yep.
Elimination issues.
And it also, what would you say, like a pale tongue is more indicative of
The
the
iron
gunas?
deficiency. So ferric
Yeah,
iron.
but looking at, say, the gunas of cold and heat, where would we go with this client? What's she more presenting?
Yeah, so it's more like a kapha, so it's a cold.
Cold, yeah.
Cold, yeah.
And so because there's cramping and pain in the uterus and the apana vayu, we're probably looking at the cold manifesting in the,
Or the digestive tract, or you mean, or
yeah, but specifically for this client, where's her issues? Like where has the doshic imbalance traveled to? Her uterus.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
cold in the uterus, which is
Mhm.
quite common for this, yeah, kind of stuff as well.
Mhm.
So now we know, okay, so she's got a bit of a Vata imbalance, possibly a kapha accumulation as well. She's got depletion of Agni and she's got cold in the uterus. What do you think? Now, she's not going to tell you that. That's what you're going to be thinking about her. What would she tell you she wants support with?
Well, I'd say lack of pain will be number one priority for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Because her cycles are regular. She's got regular cycles, is the
Mhm.
pain. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Um, and then also maybe feeling a little bit more emotionally balanced before her menstruation because she said she was quite tearful and things like that. yeah, so we're looking, I guess, at the pain aspect of it, the physical aspect, but then also the emotional aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, for this client, what would you prescribe in the way of diet, lifestyle, herbs, somatic practices?
I would literally start very simple. I would start with a CCFT,
Mhm.
get the digestion going,
Mhm.
and introduce ginger and cinnamon together because that affects the production of prostaglandin, the pain
Mhm.
receptors, and that would reduce the pain significantly, I'd say, if you did it, with breakfast every day. So fresh
Yeah.
ginger. Um, for the blood stagnation, I'm not entirely sure what kind of herbs you could do there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have anything to say, Pam or Rebecca? Have you got anything you would add for this lady?
Manjid or something.
Maybe just to change your diet around a little bit, put some more salads and some more vegetables and try and make it a more wholesome diet and
Yeah.
encourage her to have breakfast and maybe less caffeine, more water intake.
Because we want to pacify Vata, don't we? So we probably want
Yeah,
cooked, warm, whole foods, regular meal times. Yeah, less caffeine, more water to hydrate because Vata can be drying as well. Yeah, absolutely. So we want to do some Vata pacifying. Another helpful thing, I know she uses a hot water bottle, which helps relieve the pain, which also helps us know that it's more cold in the uterus. And so another really effective way to help with the cramps is using castor oil packs. So that can be really supportive as well. But I'm going to share the screen now so we can go over some of the herbs. Can you guys see the screen? Yeah, amazing. So when we're looking at dysmenorrhea, we can, obviously it can be any of the doshas because we're looking at the person in front of us. But often we're looking at vata because of the spasms and the cramping, or pitta because of the inflammation and heat. If it's coming with like a lot of endometriosis, it can be tridoshic, there can be a lot of accumulation, and that could be more kapha. So we're always looking at the person in front of us. But here are some sort of like general herbs that have been proven to be very effective with painful periods. So we have Ashoka. This is a uterine tonic that reduces painful cramps. So you can use a tablespoon in 2 cups of water and you boil it and then you reduce it down to 1 cup of water. So through the boiling process. So this is, then they drink it sort of like a tea. Also, ginger relieves pain and enhances circulation. I think that's what you said, Sylvia, as well, didn't you? So you can use the ginger tea. Another one is Jetamunsi, and this helps to reduce pain and calm the nervous system. One that I like to use with my clients specifically is 600 milligrams of magnesium with 1,000 milligrams of ginger. You don't need to think about 1,000 milligrams of ginger. You can just use like ginger tea, like fresh ginger tea, and take it with 600 milligrams of magnesium. This helps to reduce a lot of the cramps and the pain. I found it very effective for women with dysmenorrhea.
What
And
type of
then,
magnesium?
yeah, magnesium and ginger.
What type of magnesium? Is there a specific type do you prescribe or?
The citrate, magnesium citrate,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So you can, use those sort of herbs. But again, when we're looking at Ayurveda, we want to look at the diet, the lifestyle, okay? Because if there's, as we've seen in her lifestyle, there are definitely some things that she can work on. Somatic practices, maybe she needs to calm her vata down through some abhyanga daily before she gets to her menstrual cycle. Maybe there is some emotional blocks going on, so we can look at the metaphysical as well and the emotions. And we know that for her, it was primary dysmenorrhea. So to our knowledge, that means that there's no secondary cause of this. So a secondary dysmenorrhea might be painful periods because they have endometriosis, or they have fibroids, or they have something that is causing the pain on menstruation. But this is primary dysmenorrhea, which means she's had painful periods basically from the get-go of menstruation, and there's no identifiable cause. And so this is where Ayurveda can come in really well, because we can look at, okay, so what doshas are creating the imbalance, and how can we support those doshas that are getting triggered around this time of the cycle, which is the vata time, that movement, and there's been the disruption to the apana vayu. How can we support the vata dosha leading up to the cycle? And then maybe there's an inflammatory response that happens around the cycle. So then maybe we're also looking at supporting the pitta dosha. Again, we're always looking at the client in front of us. It's easy to do in case studies, but we've got to really make it personalized for that client. So that is, a good job done. Well done with that one. Amazing. All right. So, okay, so I've only got like 5 more minutes left. Did you guys want to, if you have a look at these slides, there are so many different conditions and herbal protocols for those conditions that you can go through, because it is like this slide deck is, I haven't even got to the end yet. We're at 121 slides. So there's lots of information to go through. Pam, we've all got so much to learn. It's all good.
So far behind.
No, it's all, you're going to be in front, because we're restarting the whole level 1 on October 7th if you want to join us. And it's going to be very layered and very deep. And so having all this prior knowledge going into, you're just going to get so much out of it, because you're going to, every time you learn something, even if you've learned it a million times over, it resonates deeper and there's a deeper understanding with it. That's what I love about Ayurveda. Like, it's just this gift that constantly keeps giving to those who love to learn, because you're never done with it.
But there's so many different herbs that you guys study that don't come up in the herbalism course that I've done. There's just
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah. Because these are specific Ayurvedic herbs, absolutely. And even like, for instance, even I use a blend of Western and Ayurvedic herbs just because of the accessibility here in Australia as well. So I will use sort of a blend of herbs and supplements to support my clients. But the Ayurvedic herbs are definitely becoming a lot more readily available than they were when I started out working in Ayurveda, because it was very hard to get them. However, in saying that, a lot of my clients are in the US, so they actually have Biome Botanicals over there. So that's good, because I can just go recommend they go straight and get them from there, which actually is quite easy when I've got US clients, because they have really good access to supply. But yeah, you will learn it as you go, and it all starts making more sense. And I think that's why like case studies are good, because you won't learn the different herbs like through alphabetical order, which we've been doing, and then you start applying it and it makes you start to think, and then you realize, hey, I remembered that, some things I remember from, my training that just comes up in your head, and you're like, oh, I was somehow listening and absorbing that information. I just didn't know I know it. So yeah. It will, it all comes together, but it is a process. Absolutely. I'm going to stop the recording.